back, everyone, to another episode of First in Line Podcast. I am your host, William, and today we welcome Abby Dominguez. She is an entrepreneur and business owner. She owns her own photography business called Abby Dominguez Photography. She focuses on portrait and events photography. Recently, she was also featured at El Punto, Minnesota, and also she is here today to share her journey and how she started from being how she went from doing a friend's photography, one of her events or one of the events, and now she operates and owns a studio based off of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So she did all that also while working full time. So essentially, she's here to share her journey from how she did that and um, how she is currently doing today. So wow, Bobby, you're a powerhouse. So thank you again for coming to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. When you first asked me, I was a little bit shy to come on, but just being here just feels great. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Like we were discussing a little bit off of the podcast here. You have a lot going on. You have your full-time career and you're operating businesses or a business full-time. So how do you do it?
How do I do it? No, no. I think it comes down to like time management for sure. Well, my full-time job, I work for a nonprofit organization. It's called Neighborhood House at the Wellstone Center. And, those hours are set. So, can't really do much there. But with the rest of the time that I have available and free, so if I'm not at work, I'm probably doing something photography related. So, just I guess how I do it, time management as much as I can, for sure. I feel like you could probably relate, like we never have enough time. I'm sure with a podcast, you are, contacting people, reaching out, setting up, planning. So yeah.
And one of the things that you also have going on is you also like to hang out with friends and with family. It's a lot going on, so like it's definitely good that you have good time management skills. And one of the things that you mentioned is like you wake up early. How early?
Well, when I can. I feel like 6 a.m. is not too early,
I think like a better question would be like, tell me, like what
does my day look like?
Yeah.
So an ideal day, because sometimes I have to adjust my day according to what I have going on. But an ideal day would be, I wake up around 6 a.m. Well, depending. Sometimes I wake up a little bit earlier to head over to the gym. I feel like one of the things that really keeps me motivated is like making sure that I make time for myself. And one way that I do that is by going to work out. So I'll wake up early, go to the gym, come back, and then I rush to work. I get to work. I do a full 8-hour day of being at Neighborhood House, and then after that I'm free. So after that, normally I do head over to the studio, which is not too far from my work. It's about, I would say, 5 minutes away. So it's pretty close. And then I'll clock in there, and depending if I have a session, then I'll prepare for the session, and then I'll be there for a couple of hours, then clean up, head home, do some editing, and somehow I sneak a meal in there, right? And that's what a typical day looks like for me. And then weekends are definitely busy with either, I try to make time for friends and family for sure, but that's really when people are available. Families want to come in and do a session, or that's when people have free time, so they want to have their photos done. So weekends are pretty busy, especially in the summer when it's things are picking up. There's weddings, there's events, there's whatnot. So
definitely keep busy, and you're productive, and you also ensure that you take care of your mental health as well, which is I think one of the key things for successful people is taking care of their health, and so that's and their mental health as well. So that's pretty awesome. One thing before we dig in a little bit further that people typically do is that we ask people here on the podcast is,
Hmm.
how did they get to Minnesota, right? So, would you be able to tell us like how you
Yeah,
got to Minnesota, by your family, and
right.
why Minnesota? And do you consider Minnesota your home?
Yes, yes. I definitely consider Minnesota my home. So my parents come from Mexico. Mi mamá is de Puebla,
Hmm.
and my dad is from Morelos. They did meet in Mexico, and then they came here to the U.S. And they moved to California.
Hmm.
And we were there for a couple of years, but they saw some great opportunities here in Minnesota. We had friends. I don't think we had much family,
Hmm.
we did have friends here, and uh, I grew up in a really conservative Christian home,
Hmm.
and the church played a big role in their move here.
Okay.
Actually, when they moved from California, when we arrived, I'm very surprised that I remember this, but
Okay.
I remember like arriving to the church. Like
Okay.
we didn't even have like somewhere to stay.
Hmm.
The first few nights that we got here, we stayed at the church,
Okay.
and so the church has always played a big role in the way that I was brought up.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just haven't moved anywhere else. So
Okay.
yeah, and that was back when I was like 3 years old. So yes,
Okay.
Minnesota's my home, and that's how we got here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with photography, I like I mentioned in my intro, you started doing photography. You were asked by a friend, hey, like Avi, could you
Hmm.
be a photographer in our event?
Yeah, like you
And
have a nice camera.
yeah,
Let's have you take photos.
yeah. So, and then that pretty much kicked off like a journey to
Yeah.
where you are today. Like you built and created like a business,
Hmm.
a business model for yourself. Tell us a little bit about that, like about that pivotal moment.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I had a really nice camera.
Hmm.
I There was never the intention of like, let me start a whole business, right?
Hmm.
That's not what my intentions were at the beginning. But one of my friends had asked, you have a really nice camera. Can you take photos of a baptism?
Hmm.
And I agreed.
Hmm.
Um, for me, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but I kind of
Hmm.
have a hard time saying no.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And so I said, yeah, why not? And I got really excited, but well, I didn't know how to like work the camera very well.
Hmm.
Like I didn't know like, oh, there's like a manual button
Hmm.
or everything's automatic.
Yeah.
Like there's an automatic button, there's a manual button. Like I didn't really know much. I just knew like, okay, I like to take photos and I like
Hmm.
to document like
Yeah.
different events and whatnot and have those memories. And so the night before I was literally Googling like how do I use, and then I Googled the camera brand that I
Okay.
had.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. So that like really pushed me like to actually start taking photos.
Okay.
And when I was younger, I was really, really shy. Like,
Yeah.
so like I feel like the camera was a crutch for me. Like,
Hmm.
okay, I have a role.
Hmm.
I'm here at the event. I could talk to people, but I like have a role,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so um when I did that event and I got over it, I was like, wow, that wasn't so bad. Like, I
Hmm.
think I can do this, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And so from then on, other family members had like asked me, or friends had asked me to do photos, and
Hmm.
I just I would continue to say yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, I have a hard time saying no. And so then I continued to say yes. And it came to the point where I really enjoyed it and I
Hmm.
really wanted to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And in order to take it to the next level, I wanted to learn from, from someone who actually does photography. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about the business side of it. And so that's when I decided to go to school. And you don't need a degree for photography, but for me, I felt like that would like solidify like my decision, and like that would really push me and motivate me to continue this journey.
Hmm.
And so
And
yeah.
this was like this was after you had your human services degree, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you was this like something that you decided to do because you wanted a career change,
Hmm.
or was this something that you identified as a passion?
Yeah, so it wasn't a career change because again, I wasn't like I'm going to do photography and
Hmm.
that's the only thing I want to do. But it was something that I feel like if you work in human services,
Hmm.
or any like nonprofit organization that like takes care of the community, a lot of the times you find yourself kind of like feeling depleted because you're
Mm-hmm.
servicing others, or you're
Mm-hmm.
you're hearing about people who are in crisis, or
Mm-hmm.
people have these needs, right? And sometimes you go through things yourself and you're like, okay, well,
What about me?
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or like, how can I help someone else when I may be like going through the same thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I never saw it as a career change. I saw it as like, okay, I want to do something creative to take my mind off of like other things. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I want to like, I've always thought myself as a creative person, and I felt like I needed to like nourish that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. And then you're getting clients. People are saying, Abby. You say
Yeah.
yes to all of them.
Yeah.
And eventually, at what point was it like? At what point did you decide to like take the risk and because I'm sure you started off with just one camera. At what point
Mhm.
did you decide to take the risk and purchase like more equipment?
Yeah. Yeah. So like the equipment, I slowly started to accumulate equipment.
Hmm.
It's pretty bad. I feel like, especially when you first start as a photographer, you feel like you want and need everything, right? And so there's definitely that sacrifice where you're like, what do I purchase? Do I need it? You know? And I feel like still, like, I still have like a wish list and whatnot. But yeah, I I guess um,
Like so, things were just going like well, so
yeah,
you're like, why not, just get like make the investment to make my work seem better,
yeah,
seem better. Okay,
yeah.
and then there's a point in your journey where you eventually decide to like you know um get a lease. Is that what you have right now?
Yeah, yep. So actually right before right before COVID, like that's perfect timing, right?
Hmm.
Right before COVID, a couple months before, I was finishing up school and with photography, and actually I think I was like done with school, and I was like, okay, like I want to continue this. I know what to expect in like in a photography business. And then I decided that I was going to take the plunge and sign a lease. And then the following month, or maybe I think it was the following month, then it was like, okay, well, now we have to close everything down
Hmm.
and you can't shoot. So, yeah,
So
and you still have
what?
to pay the lease.
So what was going on through your mind? You're really happy. You decided to take the jump, like the jump. You plunged. You were like, here are the opportunities. 2020 is my year, and boom, everything shuts down.
Yeah, for a minute I froze. Like that's kind of, like the reaction that I had. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Like let's slow things down. And at first I was like in denial of like what was happening. Like, okay, this can't be that bad, right?
Mhm.
Like, no, this like everything's gonna be fine.
Mhm.
But then after a while, I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty serious. But the good thing is that I had money saved from even though I was shooting just family and friends and wasn't like really official yet.
Mhm.
I had money saved from that because it was a passion, so I wasn't like spending that money, and so I felt pretty like okay, knowing that um, the studio is a shared space. It's not like my own like
Mhm.
studio, so I knew I was gonna be okay, but I still was a little bit concerned of like, okay, so like how long is this gonna last? Am I gonna have clients? Like, are we all just gonna turn into zombies because of COVID?
Mhm.
But I knew that I had money saved, and I felt like okay for the moment.
Mhm.
But right after, like the state opened up and like the restrictions,
Mhm.
um, well, you cannot believe it. Like people were mm, like connecting with me like left and right, like
Mhm.
they wanted photos, and that really surprised me.
That's awesome, and I think that's one of the qualities of like successful people: being resilient,
Hmm.
always having like plan B,
Hmm.
even up to like a plan like Z.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
always, like I feel like life will always give you like obstacles, and successful people always like manage to jump around and like find a backup plan. Like there's never like a okay, this is where it ends. Like I mean sometimes, but that's successful people always find a way to like make it work for them. So
Yeah.
I think you demonstrate that. So um, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And you know now what you're one of the things that I know that you're doing is as an entrepreneur you're always looking for like new ways, new ideas to like
Mhm.
make money and like bring in additional income for the business.
Hmm.
And one of the things that you're doing is doing spade rentals, right?
Yeah,
So could you
yeah,
tell us a little bit of what that is and how that idea came?
yeah. So I focus or I specialize in maternity and newborn photography. Maternity photography. Um, I'm sure you probably have seen that it's
Mm-hmm.
very popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and these elegant, beautiful gowns are just like they just look so gorgeous in these photos, right? Um, and a lot of the clients that would come into my studio would ask me like, "Do you have anything available? Do you have a client's closet?" And at first, I was like, at this time, no, I don't. And so I would see moms or mothers to be spend money on these gowns, and it was only going to be for the photo sessions, right? And so then I started to like research, and I used to rent out gowns from like other online boutiques. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I know that these styles are very popular. These are very, they look beautiful in all shapes. Cause you know, like there's, even though women are expecting,
Mm-hmm.
they still have a different shape, you know? So, um, so I kind of like started to realize oh, this dress looks very elegant or works well with everyone. And so then I started to collect them, and slowly my client closet grew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided that I was going to open it up so that not just people who work with me would have the chance to, you know, wear these elegant, expensive gowns, but people who I might not have time to shoot with, or if they're having like an event, they could just rent it out, and rather than you know, spend all that money
Yeah,
on something that would only be used once. So yeah,
that's awesome. You saw an opportunity and you decided to go for it.
yeah, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Um, Speaking about, like, I feel like you have an eye for like designs and colors.
Mhm.
My next question to you would be is, um, what's your favorite background color? Like, what's your favorite background, for like a photo? I know like clients have their own, but what's your favorite color?
Yeah. I don't know if I have like a favorite color, but I would say that like uh the like a white backdrop is so like classic, clean,
Mhm.
and not only that, but I can do so much with like a white backdrop. Like I can make it look like I've learned in photography or in like from my experience, I can make it look dark,
Mm.
or I can make it look gray, or I can make it look just with lighting, or I can make it like really bright white.
Mhm.
And so I feel like um, sometimes it's like one of the hardest backdrops to work with, because like if a client wants like a super white clean backdrop, sometimes I'm like, okay, I gotta get this way, and I have to just set it that way. But I feel like I just love a simple white backdrop.
Mhm.
I know it's plain, but I love
Yeah,
it.
for me, like I like the white backdrop too. And I remember I actually took my LinkedIn photo with you, and
Yes.
I don't know that like photo, like it looks fire. I like the way that
Yeah.
it looks. So
I'm glad you like
I got a lot of like
it.
compliments on it, and then I was like, oh, this is Abby. She like does the
Yeah.
photos, so like reach out to her. So
Yeah. Well, thank you
um,
for the plug.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, so my next question is, in your professional experience, what is the best photography experience that you have had, and the worst photography experience?
Okay, so the worst thing or something that has happened to me that has been the worst thing in photography, it actually happened recently. And it was, imagine just losing like thousands of dollars in like a matter of I guess seconds, or like
Mhm.
just a very small period of time.
Mhm.
So that happened to me.
Oh man.
So So I was at the studio. My studio is located downtown St. Paul, and it was a pretty late night. So it was pretty dark, and I had parked at the farmers market, right? And it's not too far, but if you're alone and you're a woman, you're like a woman, you're a little like hesitant or a little bit nervous to
Mhm.
like, you know, pull a cart full of like thousands of dollars worth of equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was heading out of the studio, I was thinking about that, and I was like, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, okay, I got to make sure that I have all my equipment. I got to make sure that I like look to make sure that what's going on in my surroundings, you know. And so I was heading down the elevator, and I like looked through my stuff, and I had everything. And the reason why I had to like take my stuff with me is because the next morning I had a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like no leaving things. Like I didn't have a choice to like, okay, no, tomorrow I'll come back for my stuff. Like it's dark out.
Mm-hmm.
So I I was like, okay, I gotta go to my car. So I look both ways. I don't see anyone, and then I'm like, okay. So then I'm pulling this cart right, full of just lots of equipment, and I get to my car, and I'm like, okay, I made it safe. And so then like I open the back of my car, and like I start to put things in from the cart into my car, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta put this bag up front by my passenger side, because it had my wallet and stuff. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go do that really quick. I didn't think like it's, I didn't think anything of it, and so then like so I go do that, and I put my backpack in the passenger side, and then I come back, and then I didn't notice anything, or like I didn't see anything. And then I continue to put my stuff in the cart, and I like finally pick up the cart, put it inside, and then lock the door, or like let it, close. And then I get in my car, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't bad, all right, ready to go. So like I drive away home, and like I get home, and then I take everything out of the cart, and then usually when I have like a wedding, I take all my equipment. Like I never leave things in my car ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm pretty like good about that. Um and so like I take everything out of my cart, and like I head upstairs. I'm on the third floor, and so I haul everything up there. And then after a long day, I want to like, take some time to just like decompress. And yeah, so I was just, taking some time to relax. And then I'm like, okay, it's getting pretty late. It was already late. It's getting pretty late now. I have to make sure that I have everything for the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start charging my batteries. I have to, just I kind of have like a mental checklist of what I need and what I should be doing.
Okay.
So then like I pull everything out, and I'm like, I'm missing a peg. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, this can't be. So then like I like start looking around the house, because like sometimes I'll come in, and like if I have a backpack, I'll like drop it somewhere, right? And I'm like looking through my house, and I'm like, I can't find it. Like I can't find the backpack that has the new camera that I just bought, like the new mirrorless camera. I know that probably doesn't mean much to some people, but it's a pretty expensive camera, and I had literally gotten it the Thursday. So this is Saturday night. I had gotten it on Thursday, so there was no insurance on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then and I had a wedding on Friday, so there was like literally no like time for me to like do anything about it. Anyways, so so I was like, okay, that the bag has my camera, my new camera. It has my 70 to 200 lens. It has my 85. It has my 50. It has my card, my SD cards. And like, I started like freaking out, like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, no, I think I must have left it at the studio. Like, there's no way. Like,
Yeah.
So then like, I was like, well, first let me check the car. So then I go back downstairs, and I like look through everything, and I'm like, sure enough, there's nothing in there. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, well, I must have left it at the studio. So then like, I rushed back to the studio, and it's already like pretty late, like probably like 10, 11. And it's like dark out, and it's like, kind of scary to be alone at that time. And so then like I head back there, and I'm like, okay, let's just go through the like the parking lot. So then like I go to the parking lot, I don't see anything. And then I'm like, okay, that's weird. Okay, I mean, I'm sure I didn't like, it's a pretty heavy backpack, so if like it would fall over, it would, yeah, I would hear it. Or it's a pretty large backpack, so if I was driving away, I would like see it, And so then I didn't find anything. I go back upstairs to the studio, and then I look everywhere, and there's nothing. I'm like, that's so weird. I was like, okay, it has to be at home. Like there's no way. Like my studio's not. You've been to my studio. It's not that. It's about 500 square feet. So so for sure I looked everywhere, and there was nothing there. So I head back home. I didn't find it. Well, I went back to the studio because I was in denial. Like this cannot be. Like how like all my equipment is missing. And so I went back and then one more time, and sure enough, I didn't find it. And so then I went back home, and that night I spent like hours crying.
Oh no.
Yeah, I spent hours crying because I was like, how could this have happened? How, like, I didn't feel like I was careless. I didn't feel like, I felt like I was like trying to be the most careful with all my equipment. I never leave it in my car. I always, and the funny thing too is like that bag was also a new one, so it didn't have an air tag.
Mm.
So everything that could like go wrong was
Mhm.
going wrong like the night before I had a wedding. And so yeah, I spent that night crying, and um I was like, what am I gonna do? I have a wedding tomorrow. The good thing is that I do have other equipment. I had like another bag with a camera and two other lenses. So I knew like, okay, like if it came to anything, like, okay, I can shoot the wedding, you know?
Mhm.
Um but then like what do I do about the rest of the equipment? Like it would be nice to have these lenses because,
Mhm.
um
About how much was lost?
well, the camera is about
Mm.
$4,000, and the lenses were about 1,000 minimum each, so more like 2,000.
So
So
about like 8, 10 grand of
yeah,
equipment
yeah,
just gone in a second. Do you know like there may be somebody like that you didn't see that just kind of like grabbed it off of the card or
yeah,
something and
yeah. So there, yeah, that's where I'm getting to. So,
uh
um, So I honestly didn't see someone like nobody pointed a gun to my face or like anything like that, which I'm really thankful for, because that would be really scary and I don't know how I would react or if I would be here. But so I didn't see anyone like take it, and so when I had to file a police report because it's a lot of money. And I came to the conclusion that the only way the only way it could go missing is between the door of the studio and to my car. Like I know for sure it wouldn't have like so I knew that it happened there. So I did file a police report, but when I filed a police report, I had filed it as lost items because I didn't feel comfortable saying somebody like stole it from me because I didn't see anything. And so yeah, I filed a police report that same morning. I got it really early because I had to figure out like what was I gonna do. And so then I filed that in the morning, and then I had called my friend, which is also a photographer, and she allowed me to like use her equipment for the wedding, which was like really great. I don't know if I would have been able to like not cry during the wedding without her equipment, you know what I mean? Or I just felt more like, okay, yeah, I feel prepared. I know I have this equipment and whatnot. So, yeah, so that happened, and then I had the wedding, and then finally I just had to come to like the conclusion that like, okay, yeah, I lost that equipment. I'm never gonna see it. I have to move forward. So then I had to purchase new equipment right away because I had weddings coming up and things coming up, and so I purchased equipment, and then I just had to be like, okay, well, I lost it, and
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm alive. Like, I was having a conversation with God, to
Mhm.
be honest,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, like, thank you for like not like allowing something bad to happen to me, and thank you for at least allowing me to have like some equipment. I wasn't like completely like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I was like kind of bargaining or like, and also
Mhm.
being thankful for like not losing everything or more than I could have.
Mhm.
Um, but weeks go by, or a couple weeks go by, and then I get a really strange phone call. Well, a phone call and messages, and it was the client that had shot the wedding for. So I had an SD card in there, and that the wedding that I shot on Friday, the SD card was in there, so their photos were in there.
Mm.
But the good thing is that I used two cameras, and I barely used the camera that was like stolen. And so they're like, the message was from my client and said, "Hey, I think we got this really strange message from National Camera Exchange, and they're saying something about like the photos and your equipment being stolen. And then please give me a call back when you get this." And then like I was at work and I like when I read the transcript, I like freaked out. I was like, wait, what? I was like, what? How? What? I was just so confused. So then like I called her right away, and then she's like, the client was like, yeah, so we got this message. I just sent you a screenshot of like what they sent. And like I went back and I read it and I was like, what? Like that's my equipment. Like they had described like it was the wedding that happened on the 20th at like the location and stuff or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, my equipment was stolen. And then I had to reassure her, but yes, I still have your photos. So don't worry about that. And then so then I like called the camera place and then they asked me a couple questions and I was like, wait, like I feel like I was asking them more questions like, wait, is my well, they said the camera was found. So then I was like, wait, is like, were they trying to sell you like the lenses as well? And they said yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they're like, everything is here. I'm like, and then they were like, what session did you choose? Did you shoot after the wedding? And I said, the maternity. And then when they said, oh, they're like, yeah, that's your camera. Cause I could describe everything. And they're like, yeah, so we need you to call the police department in Golden Valley and we need to like figure out, we need to work together like to get, this person is expecting a check.
They already had like turned in the
They,
equipment
yeah, so
to kind of like get it appraised.
yeah.
Okay.
So they left the stuff there thinking like, okay, we're gonna come back for a check.
Okay.
And so then I had to call the police department and then I had to like, it was crazy. Like I was on the phone with the cops for like 2 days because like I was trying to get a hold of the person that was like assigned to my case and then they were out of town and then like I had to make sure that the report was changed from lost to stolen items and like it was a whole process. And like the police officer and like the person at National Camera Exchange were like so helpful and like they were just the best. So anyways, so after like we had made the changes and whatnot, the police officer had everything that they needed in order to make an arrest. So they had set up the time for the person to come back and pick up the check, but they were not going to pick up a check, so they were arrested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's why are you stealing?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So I know it's a crazy story. Like I did not think like I had already accepted like, okay, I'm never going to see that equipment. It wasn't insured. It's done. And so get insurance for any equipment. But yeah, so like I'm still working on like there's a whole process of like getting your like the stolen items back. It's not just like, okay, now I can go pick up my items now that you arrested them that same day, which I thought it was going to be like that because you're just like, okay, like you have everything you need, right? And but no, so because it's pretty expensive equipment and because there was an arrest made, it's going to take some time for me to like receive my items back, which to me, I'm like, okay, well, I already have replacement equipment, so I'm okay. But I'm also sitting here like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited to get my equipment back because like each lens was a sacrifice to get. Like I remember when I like saw the price on like one of my favorite lenses and it was like 2,000 something. And I was like, oh, like that was a hit, like that could be a new laptop for someone. That could be like
a trip to
somewhere. Yeah. So like each lens that I accumulated wasn't just like, not like these new lenses where I was just like, okay, I have to make the purchase and I made the purchase. It was like a sacrifice. And like, I really was like looking forward to having that lens. And so I feel like part of that was also like lost, like, oh, I'm never going to see that again. Or or all my hard work, but I'm just so thankful that like, I don't know. Sometimes I tell myself like, maybe it was because you were not like, because sometimes there were some thoughts because I like, it was a period of time where I was like, now I hate photography. Like,
no.
or like, oh, like this is costing me more than like what is the point of this? Like I feel like I'm spending all my time and like I just lost everything and like it's gonna take a really long time to build this up again. And yes, I have this, but rather than like, I did a little bit of that, right? Because I think it's only natural.
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
and like there was times where like I would like I didn't to be honest, I felt so embarrassed. Like I felt like I'm kind of surprised that like I'm sharing the story because I felt so embarrassed because I was like, how can I be so careless? Like I don't like to not be responsible or like not. I don't know. I just felt so embarrassed and I didn't really want to tell anyone that I didn't have to tell. So a lot of people didn't know what was happening. But I was like really stressed and really like I don't know, just
Mhm.
going through it, And I don't know. I feel like, but now that I'm able to share, because there's a happy ending, I guess. I feel like I hope it does help someone. Like okay, like having insurance is really important, no matter if you just bought it or no matter what, like
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I think it was just like a perfect storm, like what could, like you were saying, what could go wrong, like went wrong, and
hmm
I don't think it was just any. It was like it wasn't a reflection of your actions.
yeah,
It just you know maybe somebody was just like looking out, like
the
looking at,
perfect
yeah,
time.
like perfect
Yeah,
time, or saying like I know like this lady has like a camera, she has a studio, you're on Instagram, so maybe somebody was like looking out, but
yeah,
like and there's weirdos out there, right? Like so
yeah,
it's just always like you were saying, you're always staying aware and stuff like that, but there's people out there who are being weird.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's not a reflection um, of your actions or anything. I don't think so. But thank you for sharing that. I think that was just like a moving story, but with the happy ending. So
Yeah.
okay, let's talk. Let's shift gears a little bit here, and let's talk about like your best photography experience.
Yeah. So, I guess one of the best things that has happened to me, I guess it's my highlight for this year at least. So recently, um, I had a client who had reached out to me and asked to fly me out and pay everything to shoot her maternity session. And to me, when I first got that inquiry, I was like, "Wait, what? Like, you want to do what for a maternity session?" Because I feel like weddings, of course, right? Like there's destination wedding people who do weddings, and there are some really amazing photographers that I look up to that do like destination maternity sessions. But I just never thought like someone would be like, "Hey, I'll fly you out." So yeah, it was really special because their story. They had a really hard time conceiving. They have one child, but it's very special to them.
Mhm.
And so when they reached out to me, they said that we can pick a photographer, any photographer, but we trust you, and we trust that like you'll like this is very important to us because we hold it dear, and it's like you want to protect your. I don't know if it's like your energy, but your I don't know how to explain it, but like you want
Yeah,
to protect what you have, right?
yeah.
You're not gonna. Sometimes you don't want to share like things that are happening that are good. That's I know that might be a little bit. What would you call it? Como se dice? Like
Like,
ha- superstitious, I guess.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
that might be a little bit superstitious, but like they want to protect like what they have and
mhm,
whatnot, and they're like, but we trust you to do this, and so we want to take you. And when they saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so special.
mhm.
And so yeah, they paid for everything, and we went down to Baja California, and it was so great. Like that was literally one of the when you think about like traveling with a group of people, sometimes you're like, okay, well, you have to like accommodate to everyone's like wants, kind of, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm,
okay, if sometimes you might be a little bit uncomfortable because it's a group. It's not
mhm,
like when you and like your wife go out to a
mhm,
trip where you could just do whatever.
mhm.
And so I was a little bit worried about that because I was like, okay, well, like it's a new location. It's like I don't know. I don't like I shoot a lot of like maternity, but it's around here, or like so I was worried about a lot of things, but I was like, you know what, whatever. And so when we went on the trip, I decided not to like really like post anything on social media and just kind of like enjoy the moment and like not and be present. And like it was one of the most fun trips ever. And I feel like one of the highlights was like just creating that bond with the family. Like it was about more like relationship, like and how they trusted me and how like I wanted like the very best photos or the best like what they had imagined and what they had envisioned. I wanted to execute that to the T. And so and I believe we did that. So
Mhm.
So to me, that's why that trip was so special.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a highlight. Like you were saying, they could have picked anybody, right?
Hmm.
And I think you're a good person, and good things happen to good people. And one of the things why I feel like they picked you is because one, like, you work hard, and the work that you do, you take care of like the brand, like the work. You don't just like, I don't know, like, especially with like a camera, right? You don't just like get like a random camera, right? Like you
Yeah,
do the research, and you protect like the work, and the work. Your work is just a reflection of like your company, and
yeah,
what you care for. And I think like that's very evident in like the shooting that you do.
mhm,
And I feel like I witnessed that firsthand, especially like because for me, like, I don't really like talking about myself or like taking pictures
yeah.
about myself. Like sometimes I do, like just like why not on Instagram? But I feel like it's different. But like, um, especially like with like LinkedIn, like
Hmm.
usually it was like like just a picture of myself on my LinkedIn.
Yeah,
But this one, like I'm in a time with my career where I'm like progressing, and I felt like that was a special moment for me.
yeah,
And like I know Esther, like she speaks highly of you, and like, hey, like I know this great photographer. And
yeah,
like I never really like um, there's a lot of photographers out there, right? Like
yeah,
who I guess some like you, like I feel like you're up there, but others who are like starting out and not necessarily taking care of like their brand. But for you, I walked into your studio and right away it felt like a sense of like professionalism, but
hmm,
like not like professionalism, but at the same time like a welcoming environment. Like
hmm,
you just I feel like you have that sense of like just being able to create that naturally. So I
yeah,
went there and it was like fun, like, and
uh-huh,
it was fun, and like I didn't expect like a photography session to be like fun. I
yeah.
don't really like take pictures, but it was like fun, natural, and like the picture came out great. So like I don't
Yeah,
know. So I feel like that just how you treat the work and how you respect it definitely be like portrayed like portrayed into like others, and that's where they're like, let's go with Avi. So.
thank you for sharing because I feel like for the longest time, or like I feel like sometimes that's something that I struggle with. It's like I care so much about being professional and showing professionalism,
Mhm,
but sometimes I think it might be boring. Like
mhm,
at least to like maybe the younger generation, or like I don't know. So sometimes I want to make sure that I do have a balance,
mhm.
and so like by you sharing that, like it just makes me like, okay, yeah, I'm doing a good job,
High five. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And one thing also that I want to like touch a little bit more about is if you could talk a little bit about it, is when you were in Mexico, like, and I feel like you're great at this, especially
Mhm.
with like your work and in your life, your personal life. The you said enjoy the moment and enjoy the present, like living in the present. Could
Yeah,
you talk to me about what that means to you?
yeah, yeah, for sure. So to me, that means, um, well, well, it's really hard for me to do that, and I feel like maybe a lot of people who, like, have really high standards and goals for themselves, like they have a hard time living in the present because you're always thinking about like the future and the where you want to get to and what is your goals and how you're going to get there. And sometimes that can bring some anxiety and some stress and some pressure. And if you focus on that, yes, you will get there, but like your journey is not going to be uh as fun, or you're not going to enjoy the journey of getting there if you're not just present and kind of like be thankful for like what you have accomplished and what you're doing. And so although you want to live in the present, I feel like you still, yes, of course, you still want to keep your eye on the prize and like your goals and like
Hmm.
really like know where you're going and be strategic. But if you don't take time to like really appreciate where you're at and to really like appreciate the people and the people who have helped you get there, then what is the point, you're missing the point of the whole journey. And so to me, I feel like I've had to learn that for sure. I, I know that like I like to stay busy, and I know that I have like goals that I want to like reach and whatnot, but like I'm glad that like I've had some opportunities where like things slow down and you're like, and I feel like kind of like that with the camera situation too, like okay, well, I wasn't going to be shooting too much, right? So then I had to like be like, oh, like what is next? And like, but I'm so thankful for everything that like a camera like
Hmm.
has done for me. Like without that camera, like I know that I had mentioned this earlier in the podcast when I was like it's kind of like it was a crutch at first when I first started, but now it's a tool.
Hmm.
You know, like it's no longer like, oh, I'm shy, I'm here, I'm the photographer. No, it's like, yeah, I do photography, but I want to build that relationship with that individual.
Hmm.
And so, to me, being present is just appreciating the people around you and like being aware of what you have accomplished,
Hmm.
but also and being thankful for everything that you have received. So, yeah.
I think that was a great response, and definitely that clicked with a webinar that I watched today. My wife shared it. She has like she's like professional human resources
Hmm.
for Excel Energy, and one of the things that she has to do is like have like continuous professional education to like maintain like certification and good standing, and but the webinar was hosted by a company called the Human Resource Institute, and
Hmm.
they brought on a guy who does well. He was talking about a TED talk, which was focusing on like, happiness.
Hmm.
I guess this guy was essentially he went to the guy who was talking on the TED talk about happiness was essentially like putting on this idea that um, normally how life is like first is like there's two things that we think is going to lead to happiness, like kind of like pivoting off of like your talk.
Hmm.
For example, like you can say like if I have more money I'll be more successful, and when I have those two things I'll be happy, right?
Hmm.
But it's never like that, right? Because like where I was gonna be wanting more money or where I was gonna be wanting more like success, it's a
Hmm.
never ending cycle, right? So like we always put happiness last, right? When I have X, Y, and Z,
Hmm.
I'll always get like happiness, right? And once we do have like the next raise, the next job, the next experience or whatever, like then we'll be happy, right? When we
Hmm.
get all these things, then we like move the post like a little bit further, right? A
Hmm.
little bit further, and then happiness is always like out of reach.
Hmm.
So the guy in the TED talk or this webinar that I was looking at was essentially saying, like, why don't we just like put happiness first, because
Hmm.
like so I guess he has like a consulting firm that like does research on happiness, and they have like all these metrics, and essentially what they're talking about is saying like if we put happiness first, like you're saying, living in the present, living in the now, um, and enjoying the present, enjoying the moment, right? Like
Hmm.
once we do that first, then we're gonna once we choose happiness first, it's based on their metrics, we're gonna be able to like do our work better. We're
Yeah.
gonna be more happier with their family, with their friends. We're gonna enjoy like our jobs more. We're gonna enjoy like money. Like we're gonna be able to enjoy like all these experiences better. So
Hmm.
definitely that clicked with when you say that. That's
Yeah.
what clicked with me. So,
Yeah. I really like that you shared that. There's another podcast, and I can't remember what it was, but something that I had like a little aha moment, and it kind of is similar to what you're saying. And the person in the podcast was saying, imagine if you just realized that there is no end goal. Like, what if this whole thing is a journey? Like, there is no end. There, yes, there is an end goal, but like once you get there, it's just another journey. So
mhm,
think of your life as like a whole complete journey. So what now? You're gonna focus on like the journey. You're not gonna focus on like that like
mhm,
new job or that new like whatever it is,
mhm,
because it is true. Like
mhm.
it's a journey.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and also at least like for me like I feel like we learn this stuff and we become mindful for it, but it takes like practice. Like for me at
Hmm.
least, like I'm always thinking about the future. Like I have a hard time living in the present. I'm
Hmm.
always like, I'll do this so I can do this later. But what if later never comes?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't know. That's something that like I like struggle with, but it's something that I'm a little bit more mindful like for now, like just enjoying the present and enjoying the moment. So
Yeah.
thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I have a few more questions. Last couple of questions before we close it out.
Hmm.
Um, Tell me about like mentors. Do you have any mentors in your life and in your journey? Did
Yeah.
Did you have any?
Yeah. So I have a couple of people that I like always reach out to. Um, I I I don't call them like mentors, like, or I don't know, like refer them as mentors, but to me they are my mentors. There are a couple of people in the industry, like here in around the like Minneapolis, St. Paul area that I like consider like okay, like they've been doing photography for such a longer time than I have, and they've been able to sustain a business and they're successful at what they do, and so one like. Uh, I mean, it's never like okay, every 3 months we're gonna go ahead and connect, but I know that like I can reach out to them and ask them questions, or like I can count on them to like have those conversations that are a little bit harder to have, that are a little bit like, okay, this is kind of what I'm struggling with. How do you do it? And then the cool thing about it is that like sometimes like at least now I feel like they ask me questions too, like well, or what about you, what are you doing? And so like I feel like I consider them mentors, but at the same time they're more like also like I don't know, like I, it's kind of weird to say, but like peers.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're mentors, but sometimes it's like, oh wait, like they're kind of peers too. So also like my teacher from Century College, that's where I went for photography for my 2 year degree there, and like um, I know that I can count on him to like ask him questions, or like he's also like invited me back and to like give my opinion, like so that they can build their curriculum, and like just to make sure like what they're doing is like or what they're teaching is still pretty relevant. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, cool. But I feel like I need you as a resource because like
Yeah.
you did this and your company was crazy successful, and now you're a teacher. So like I also need your help. So I think it's really cool. But again, I don't like consider them like, or I don't name them like mentors.
Hmm.
But I do consider them um, my mentors. So
Okay, that's
yeah.
nice. That's really cool though. Like now that they're reaching out to you for advice and like making sure that this is still like accurate in the industry. So
Yeah.
did you ever think that you would get to that
No, I was like,
point?
wait, what? You want me to come and do what?
That's
So
really
very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Okay, next question. So are you currently reading any books, or what Netflix shows are you looking at right now?
Yeah. So I don't really do Netflix shows. I normally when I edit, I listen to podcasts, and then
Hmm.
I also do different courses online that are photography related. Sometimes I do like not I don't go off of like I like to sometimes once in a while like listen to something that's not related to photography, just because I feel like you can learn so much about like different industries, right?
Hmm.
And you can always apply them to whatever industry you're doing, and as
Hmm.
long as it's like something regarding in leadership or like personal development or whatnot, I like to like absorb that. And so to me, or sometimes I'll do like audible,
Hmm.
just because I can like leave off wherever and then pick
Hmm.
up, and I can be driving or I can be at the studio or editing.
Hmm.
But I think I don't know which one's my favorite right now. I have so many, but one of my favorite ones right now is Level Up Latina,
Okay.
because it's a group of like four women. I believe it's four, 4 or 3 women. I want to say it's four,
Hmm.
but they come together and talk about things that are like relevant to Latinas, like they're a lot of them are mothers and they're professionals, and they also have like a mentorship program and whatnot. I think it's kind of expensive, but so I haven't done that, um, but I think like just absorbing new ideas and listening to other people, and I just like always enjoy that. So that's kind of what I currently am listening to, or I always try to
Yeah.
like mix it up. But yeah,
Yeah. You're a lifelong learner.
yeah,
So, um, and tell me about your hobbies and things that you enjoy doing outside photography.
yeah. So um, I love to go running. I love the runner's high. I
Hmm.
haven't had a chance to really do that so much lately. I love to work out. I like to do like any hit class. Like I'm there. Like
Hmm.
it to me, it's just I don't know, exciting or whatnot.
Yeah.
I love to kayak. I love to I don't know, hang out with friends for sure.
Hmm.
Bring people together. Um, anything that's like creative, I like to do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know that you were a runner. I used to run like track in high school, and
yeah,
not. I used to running, and I like running too. And I actually like the Twin Cities Marathon, like the virtually one, but I still did it like
yeah.
26.2 miles. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. We
Um
should do I don't know one of our mutual friends or friends, Esther, has done the turkey trot,
Okay.
and that one's not really competitive.
Yeah.
But I want to do that again this year. So.
Yeah, I actually did it with her.
You did?
It was really cold.
Yeah.
It was like it was like really cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
Did you not like it, or
would
you be willing to do it again?
I would be willing. I would be willing to do it again. But this time, like as soon as I get done, I'm going to the car. I was like waiting for them, and
then you got pretty cold.
I got cold because it was like really cold. I should have gone to the car, but I was like freezing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So one of my friends that I haven't connected with in a while, and I should, we did it twice in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool because one year we had like matching tutus, right? And then the following we added some other piece. And like the plan was to like continue to add, because I'm sure you've seen some really decorated like, people.
Yeah.
And so like I think
there was one I saw at St. Thomas when I was like running then.
Yeah.
Like people get creative.
Yeah.
Like, they had what was his name? Pac-Man and the little like ghosts.
Yeah.
So like little ghosts running, and then like someone just as Pac-Man just running after them.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But
yeah, we should do something. If we do the run, we should do something like that.
Yeah, we should.
But turkey related or like Thanksgiving related.
That would be really cool.
So are you accepting the challenge then? We're gonna do it.
I'm accepting the challenge.
Okay, we're gonna do it.
This is live on First Line Podcast.
Esther's gonna be listening, so
she'll find out. Don't tell her anything. She'll find out this.
Yes. That's how we will know if she listened.
Okay. Yeah. That's how we'll know. If she doesn't say anything, then there'll be a consequence.
Yes.
I don't know what it will be. Okay. Last two questions. So what advice would you give to like your younger self?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of I have a lot to share now,
sure.
But no, I think if I were to go back, or like we can't, but if I could just give like my younger self some advice, it'd be to like to not be so hesitant. And I feel like when I was younger, I was so hesitant to like really like take the plunge and like commit to something like career wise. Like I kind of knew that like maybe like something more creative was like what I would want to do for like a living. But I didn't do that because I wanted to like I didn't think like photography was like something that was really professional or like that could take me far, like, you know what I mean?
Meet people, get experiences, and like you just got like a all expenses paid trip. Like,
So I would say like don't be so hesitant and to like really follow your heart, but also like keep in mind like yes, like keep your goals in mind and never lose track of that, and keep your values always in mind, but don't be hesitant and commit to what you really want to do and follow that through, because there will be no regret if you do that, so yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's solid advice. And the last question here before we close out, where can, if somebody want to reach out to you, where can they follow you, and if you wanted to give any like shout outs to any of your friends?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on Facebook. It's Abby Dominguez Photography. Instagram, it's abbydominguez.photography. And then if you'd want to reach out via email, info@abigaildominguez.com. So it's kind of long, but that's where you can find me. And then shout out to, I'm just going to do a general shout out. I would hate to forget someone.
Sure.
So whoever's watching, if any of my friends are tuning in, thank you so much for all the support that you have given me. I really appreciate you all. And again, thank you for the support. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Abby, for coming on. This has been First in Line Podcast. Don't forget to visit the merchandise store. Follow, leave a comment, like, share, and if you want any of your friends or the people watching that to come on, feel free to send the information our way, and we'll be sure to follow up your way. Follow up and reply to you. So thank you again, Abby, for coming on. And,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we usually end it with a handshake.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good.